and the training of the Family Diplomacy Initiative. So my name is Paul Lachelier. I'm the founder and the director of Learning Life. And I'm going to be essentially guiding you through this training process. And so I want to give you, and I'm going to share my screen and give you guys some sense of what this training is about. So for those of you who are rejoining us from last year, this will not be new. Some of this will not be new, but for the rest of you, this will be to some extent new. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I want to give you guys a sense of, go ahead, and for those of you who are not muted, make sure to mute yourselves. Mulba, I just muted you. So today's agenda is an introductory meeting to the Family Diplomacy Training. It's important here to note that part of this is going to be a presentation. So I'm going to explain some things, and then we're going to go into questions. As I mentioned, you can introduce yourself in the Zoom chat now, or you can do that later, whenever you'd like. But feel free to write down, or as you're thinking, as I'm presenting, any questions that you might have. And then lastly, in the last part of the meeting, this is perhaps the most important part, we're going to be doing a pre-survey. What that means is we're going to be surveying you to determine essentially who you are, ask you a set of kind of demographic questions, where you're coming from, but also, and most importantly, an open-ended 10-minute question where you're going to be answering, just writing your answers to those questions. And I just want to note that our interns, whom you'll meet in this meeting, and Joe Tolles, who is one of our kind of leaders of the upcoming storytelling session, you are not obliged, and you don't need to take this survey, just so you know. Okay, so that's the agenda, and I'm going to jump into the presentation. So one thing to keep in mind, and this is kind of fundamental to understanding what we're doing, is that we live in a world in which we're all intertwined, yet to varying extents disconnected from each other. Can anybody explain to me, like, how that is, how that we're intertwined, or can give us an example of how we're intertwined yet disconnected? Begum.
Via chatting or writing in the chat box.
Okay. No, you can speak it. You can speak it.
Yes. Okay. So I mean, I think in a globalizing world, intervened yet disconnected, I think this reflects the paradoxical nature of globalization. On the one hand, the world is becoming like a global village where each lies the states and also non-state units and like NGOs and trade companies are all interconnected somehow. Saw this during the pandemic. So the whole world has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. But disconnected means the uneven nature of globalization. So in some parts of the world, there is an uneven development level. I mean, some parts are very developed, but some are really poor. They don't have network connections. They don't have access to internet, so they cannot get connected to the other parts of the world. This is simply what I understand.
Yep, those are two great examples. So one, we're connected in the sense COVID just happened and it was a global phenomenon, right? There are a growing number of problems in the world that are international. They don't respect borders. diseases are one of those things. Climate change is another one of those things, where those things are showing us that we're intertwined. There's another, obvious way in which we're intertwined, which is in the products that we consume that are made in different parts of the world. But you're indicating, Begum, that we're also disconnected by virtue of the fact that some people have internet connection and other people don't. Very good point. I'm going to butcher your name, but it's Zineng Wan. Sorry.
No
China.
worries, just come in the name, it's okay. So no worries about my name. Just I'm of the opinion that the globalizing world are intertwined because we human beings have so many things in common. In other words, we have so many things which are very similar to each other. Like when we face something that we feel angry and we just express and a very similar facial expressions, and we also face so many similar difficulties in our daily life. For example, like parenting style, and also how to deal with the relationships within a family. And so we are honestly speaking, we are so similar to each other. However, because we have so many differences in cultures, religions, and also politics systems, so we are little likely to communicate with each other during our daytime, because currently with the development of social media, the physical barriers between us are diminishing. In other words, we have more chances to talk with others on social platforms. However, because of like in China, we have a network to stop us from the outside network and those communicate with others. So this is a sort of disconnection. And also because of our government to some, for some political sake. So we receive the news that may not be real. And in other words, like in China, we often receive the news or information from our social media that is related to the bad aspect of other countries like Canada, the US, and also India and Japan. So we cannot just look at each other in an objective point of view. So so it also another disconnection. Yeah, this is my personal opinion.
Okay, great. Yeah, how do you pronounce your name again?
You can just come in Zealand. Yeah.
Zinning. Okay,
Yeah.
Zinning. Good points. I think underscore that there are cultural differences, right? And in part because of disinformation, those cultural differences are maybe accentuated. So really good points. Ali Hussein, this will be the last one before we go on, but Ali, if you could tell us also where you're coming from.
Hello everyone, I am from Pakistan, and I would like to highlight just 2-3 points. This is a complex globalization, the modern era. The challenges are pretty much the same in terms of education, management, human interaction within the community and across border communities. Yet the barriers are starting from the language, from a different contextual representation of the resources and facilities, the quality of services available to the communities, and the segregation. The problems are pretty much the same in its nature, but we are disconnected because we are applying a different solution to the same problems.
Okay, great, Ali. Yeah, so the point is we're facing lots of problems in the world, common problems. You mentioned education, but it could be climate change, et cetera, and so forth, although we face climate change in different ways. And we have, as you mentioned, I think it's a good point, kind of language barriers. That's one ways in which we're disconnected. So I think you guys have, all three of you made really good points. about this kind of modern conundrum problem that we're intertwined with each other, and yet in various ways we're disconnected. So that presents this kind of this basic dilemma. We don't feel particularly connected to each other, and yet whether we like it or not, we're connected to each other. And so this creates this core question: how can we as human beings get along and cooperate for mutual benefit, given our differences? And this is where we come in as an organization. So Learning Life is a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. area, in the capital of the United States. We were founded in 2012. Our core mission is to spread learning in everyday life beyond school walls. We are not your typical educational nonprofit in the sense that we're not focused on teaching people ABCs or 1, 2, 3s, and we're not focused on schools. We are instead developing inclusive learning communities, and each of these programs that you see on your screen here are the communities that we're developing. So at the international level, we're developing this Family Diplomacy Initiative, and alongside it, a Citizen Diplomacy International, which has quarterly meetings for people who are interested in citizen diplomacy more broadly, and family diplomacy is a type of citizen diplomacy. And then at a local level here in the Washington, D.C. area, we have a democracy learning community. So those are the communities that we're developing. And so with regards to our core goals, when it comes to, as an organization, they are to develop connected, capable, and caring citizens. Our world, as this indicates, needs more citizens who get along, cooperate, and govern themselves collectively for mutual benefit. And we need more learning everywhere, right? And that means learning not just in schools, but in families and communities and online. And we lead in a world where we're kind of awash, not just in disinformation, but also distraction, a lot of games, a lot of TikTok, et cetera, and so forth. We need more signia, not just trivia. So signia is significant information, not just trivial information, right? To be able to be good citizens who are informed and can participate. And lastly, as I mentioned, we're building learning communities. And to do that, we're focusing on trying to develop people's connections, your capabilities, and your caring, right? So, and we think that that's best done in communities like this, that we develop our connections, our capabilities, and our caring. So a little bit about the Family Diplomacy Initiative. We launched this in 2016. Our vision is a world more connected and caring because every family has one or more family diplomats, and those family diplomats are connected to each other across the world based on the issue that you care about. So for instance, if you are affected, if your family is affected by climate change, you would be connected through FDI, the Family Diplomacy Initiative, to all kinds of families across the world who are interested and affected by climate change. If you are affected by domestic violence, or you would be connected to all kinds of people across the world who are affected by domestic violence. So keep in mind, in some cases, some issues actually are issues that family members do not agree upon. In a case like domestic violence, for instance, some people might be perfectly happy with domestic violence, oftentimes men. And in contrast, some people might not be for domestic violence, oftentimes women. But we generally are on the side of human welfare and equality. So we will be, among other things, kind of connecting people across the world who are affected by domestic violence, which unfortunately is a very common problem in the world. So the point is that different families are affected by different issues. Some of them are internal to families. Some of them are big, big issues like climate change. And we want to connect these families across the world to each other so that they can advocate more effectively through nonprofits, businesses, governments, for the needs, and media for the needs, concerns, and aspirations of families. So you guys are the beginnings of this kind of core of Family Diplomats. If you stick with us, not just this year, but over years, we are looking to identify people who are committed to becoming family diplomats, who are interested in developing their skills as family diplomats. And yes, this is kind of resume building for those of you who are young, and who want to connect and learn. And we are essentially going to be helping you to do that over the span of years. This is not something that just happens. This training is not like do it and then go. We hope for some of you that will be the case. It is something that you want to return to and continue to develop your skills, your connections, and ultimately your voice in policymaking through governments, businesses, nonprofits, and the media. So our goals, create more caring, capable, connected global citizens and empowering families to participate in governance. What that means is having a voice in policymaking in these different institutions, businesses, governments, media, and nonprofits. And right now we're doing this, our activity is this training that happens from July to October. Okay, so the broader vision, as I mentioned, is a world more connected and caring because every family has one or more family diplomats. And these folks are, these citizen diplomats advocate via nonprofits, businesses, media, and governments for the needs, concerns, and aspirations of families worldwide. We started this in 2016, as I mentioned, with dialogues. That has been happening, but now we are in phase 2 where we're actually training family diplomats. We started that last year. And in the we're going to be in this phase of training. We're continuing phase 1, right? But the dialogues are happening through the trainings. But in phase 2, we're beginning to train family diplomats. That will happen. The training is going to be developed over about 5 years. And then in phase 3, we are going to begin to connect our most skilled family diplomats to media, businesses, governments, and nonprofits so that you guys can essentially advocate for the needs of families like yours. So that is that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the just nitty-gritty of the training so that you have a sense of what the training is about. So first, there are 2 parts to the training. First part is focused on learning about trends, patterns, and issues facing families across the world and about citizen diplomacy. Part 2, which goes from August 27th, is a longer part from August 27th to October 29th, is very much focused on you guys and developing your stories as family diplomats. And so you will get to practice and then ultimately perform, and then we will be recording everything just like we're recording this meeting. I think we are. We should be recording this meeting. And so you will get support throughout this process of learning. Phase 1 or part 1 is focused on knowledge, developing your knowledge, and phase 2 is focused on storytelling and developing your skill at storytelling. Okay, here's what the training looks like in part 1. We've got this orientation today, and we're doing the pre-survey. On July 16th, we will start with what is family and some demographic changes that are happening to families across the world. On July 22nd, we're going to be focusing on rituals, routines, and family narratives. On July 30th, we're going to be talking more about the impact of globalization on families. On August 6th, we're going to be talking more about world trends, power, and citizens. On August 13th, on the history and structure of diplomacy, and on August 20th, citizen diplomacy issues and cases. Here are the faculty. So they're going to be returning. Denise and Bethany are both faculty focused on their specialization is in families, and so they're actually a mom and a daughter. They both happen to be teaching at the same university. And so they will be leading us through the family information. I will be giving you some information about citizen diplomacy and power. And Andreas, although there's a possibility we may switch him out with somebody else, but Andreas is going to be focusing on kind of talking about diplomacy writ large and about the details of kind of some of the details of citizen diplomacy. Some principles to follow with regards to the training. We encourage family participation. So for those of you who are who have family participating with you, that's great. So this can be a parent, this can be a grandparent, a brother, a sister, a cousin, whatever. We are providing incentives to participate as family members. As you may or may not be aware, there are 5 cash awards for the most improved trainees. We are going to be offering $250 cash awards to individuals, but $500 cash awards to families that participate and are most improved. So there are a total of 5 cash awards up to $2,500. So in other words, it could be 5 families that win, or it could be two families and 3 individuals. Whatever it is, the point is it'll be $250 for individuals and $500 cash for families. But you have to go through the whole training, and you have to attend and participate and be on time for the meetings. So we are setting, by the way, and I'll be introducing soon some of our interns, but one of our interns is right now busily kind of like checking attendance and participation. And we are looking to make sure that you arrive no later than 10 minutes from the start of the meeting, and don't leave until no earlier than 10 minutes before the meeting ends. You should be, in other words, attending the whole meeting, right? And all these meetings, and participating actively in the meetings, whether it's in the Zoom chat or in your spoken words. We welcome a diverse families and family stories. I mentioned the diverse part, because families look very different across the world. There are a growing number of families that are, hear stories of women coming together to take care of their children, because in some cases, a lot of men are absent. So it may be 2 or 3 women with kids that are taking care of their family. That's a family to us. A gay family, a gay couple, a man and a woman, or 2 men together, or two women with or without children. That's a family to us. We have a broad definition of family. What we focus on more is caring than we do what the family looks like. And we expect you to kind of respect that. That does not mean you can't ask questions respectfully about those things, but the whole point here is for us to learn, not to judge each other because we have some sort of conception of family. So we value and reward your commitment to going through the training, your active participation in the meetings. These are going to be active, very much active participation meetings, your improvement in your knowledge, and lastly, your improvement in your skill. So as I mentioned, focus on learning and not judging, focusing on developing your knowledge in part 1 and becoming a better storyteller in part 2 about some sort of family issue that you care about. You should be in this because you care about family and want to make the world a better place by giving voice to families, right? This is family diplomacy. So we want to give voice to families. We want you to attend and participate. Don't be a wallflower. A wallflower means somebody who just is quiet and doesn't say anything. We want you to, and if you're shy about participating with your voice, you can just enter lots of comments or questions in the Zoom chat. That's a great place for you to do so. And to help measure improvement, you need to fill out, and this is very important, we need to have the pre-survey, and we're going to be focusing on this pre-survey completed before next Sunday. So all of you are participating, you're hopefully going to do it today with us. But if for some reason you're having any technological problems or else, we need to have you fill out that survey before next Sunday, and our interns are going to be following up with you to make sure that that happens. And then you're going to be, just to remind you, you're going to be doing a post survey, I think on August 20th. And so yeah. And then lastly, you are going to be performing a family story at the start and end of part 2. So that's it for me blabbing on. Let's switch to questions. I'd like our interns to introduce themselves, as well as Joe Tolles. You, for the rest of you, you can just kind of like introduce yourself in the Zoom chat. Again, you're going to have lots of opportunities to introduce yourselves and for us to get to know you over this. And we really do want to get to know you. But in interest of time, we're not going to like just go through and have everybody introduce themselves. And then so this is a time for you guys to ask questions if you have any. Oh, I'm sorry. I should. So let's have some people introduce themselves here. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joe Tolles. I live in Auburn, Alabama, in the United States, which is in the southeast portion of the United States. I have been with Learning Life for a few years, starting with the food survey or conversations, foods around the world, and have never left. So I am a retired school counselor, part-time therapist. My big my family is that, and the specialty about my family is that I have 8 adopted boys from the foster care system. I myself grew up in the foster care system. And so I am going to continue because I really like talking with and meeting people from all around the world. Especially I learn something almost every day when somebody shares a piece of what's going on in their lives. And the issues, the most impressing thing is that we find out through this that how much more alike we are than we are different. We deal with the same issues and struggle with the same issues. And for me, I am a big advocate for peace and harmony and humanity. And so it really just helps, make me feel closer to the rest of the world, and sort of gives me a direction on how I can participate in this. So that's me.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Dia, if you could introduce yourself. So for the interns, we're going to introduce themselves. You could just tell us your name, your city, your country, your what you're studying in school, where you go to school, and what else? Why you're engaged with FDI, and what your role is, what you're going to be helping with in these trainings. So Dia, go ahead and go first.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Thea. I'm from Hillsborough, New Jersey, and I am a student at American University, which is in Washington, D.C. And so I'm involved in the Family Diplomacy Initiative because I think that it definitely is really important. My parents actually immigrated from India before I was born, and they came to the U.S. And so I think just being able to meet people who are from all parts of the world is really important, just to kind of expand your knowledge as well. And so my role here, for at least this meeting, it could change in the future, is to just kind of take screenshots of all of the conversations going on. And then also for the survey that's going to be happening later, if you don't have Wi-Fi and you can't really access the survey, then you can just chat me directly and tell me your answers to the survey.
Great. And Dia, so before I forget it, we might as well have everybody do a screenshot. As I mentioned, every day that we meet, we'll do a screenshot of all of us, like with our cameras on, smiling, and we might as well do that now. So if you guys could all, Ali, Mulba, Chirunim, turn on your cameras briefly. We are going to take a photo of everybody smiling, and Chirunim, I don't know if actually your brother is on. I think you're together, right? I think these guys are on together. And then Nayib, I don't know if you can hear us, but if you could, Nayib Khalid, if you could likewise turn on your video, and Hajer Shilab, if you could likewise turn on your video. All right, so on 3, Dia, if you can take the photo, I'll count. On 3, if you could all smile. 1, 2, 3, smile.
Yeah.
Great. And Dia, you
Yep,
got
we're
that?
good. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Summer, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I can go. So, hi, I'm Summer. I also go to American University. I'm a rising junior, so that's my 3rd year. For those of you who don't know, it's in Washington, D.C., where learning life is based. But right now I'm in Orlando, Florida, because this is where like my parents are and my family. And I think, oh, I forgot to say what I'm studying. I'm studying international relations, also like Dia. And like, I think that learning life is really important because like Dia, I also come from parents who immigrated here from Pakistan. I think it's really important because my family has been affected by issues, especially my extended family back in Pakistan. So I really like the cause of the Family Diplomacy Initiative to kind of bring families into policymaking and decision making. And my role in these trainings is to basically take attendance. So some of you have already seen me direct message you for your Facebook profile and your email, as well as your cities and countries. So yeah, so if you have any questions, or if you forgot, or if you changed your name or anything, if you forgot your Facebook profile, you can just direct message me. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Summer. April.
Hi, everyone. My name is April Copiage Calderon. I'm not in school right now. I just graduated from Howard University. I was studying psychology and political science. And Howard is also based in Washington, D.C., but I'm from California. And the reason why I'm interested in the Family Diplomacy Initiative is just like because I am all like as someone said earlier, I was also in the foster care system. So being able to communicate your family stories and learning how to do that and meeting new people is so inspiring. It'll also teach me how to do that. So which is why I'm along the training as long as everyone else. But my role in this is to gather the context of other families. And so I'm going to be reaching out to other people and just trying to gather some pictures and get to know you guys on a more of an intimate level. So if you guys have any questions, just you guys can reach out to me. Thank you.
Great. And so April and Mary, are going to be reaching out to you guys because we need to learn more about you, about your families, and about the issues that your families might be facing. And so you'll hear more from them as well. So Mary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name's Mary. I'm from Philadelphia, which is in Pennsylvania originally, and I study history and political science at Davidson College, which is in North Carolina. And I am involved with Learning Life, and I asked to be involved with the Family Diplomacy Training, probably for similar reasons like that have been listed, because I come from a family where my divorced parents, and so learning to like tell a story that puts these two halves of myself together is very important for me. And so I'm kind of taking away from this something for myself as well, but I also have always been interested in learning about different cultures and meeting new people. So I'm very excited. And again, I'm helping out with doing some of the, just getting to know everyone on a better level. So I recognize some of you. I was emailing with you earlier, but it's very nice to meet you all today.
Great. So let's switch because I think that's it. I don't think I'm missing any other interns. June Long was very briefly.
You just need.
Who's speaking?
This is Nick Paul.
Oh, Nick.
Hi, everyone.
So Nick, we're hold on a second because we're actually, so you're a participant, not an intern. I just want to make sure that you're not confused about things. So, we're going to have we're going to have people introduce themselves, but please do it in the Zoom chat. In the interest of time, we don't actually have all that much time, but we do want to focus. So we're going to learn a lot more about you over the process of this training, especially in the storytelling part. But otherwise, we're going to be learning about you throughout this, because really the focus is on you guys, not on us, the interns, or on Joe. Although Joe actually has his own family story, which you'll learn more about. But at this point, I just want to ask you guys if you have any questions about the process of this training, or about more generally this family diplomacy initiative. You should be thinking about, like, what you can ask, like, what are you getting out of this? Why you're in this, and if you're clear about the process as to what we're going to be doing. So this is really your chance to just ask any question that you have. If you do, though, just raise your hand electronically so that I can tell, and we can have, we can have some order to this. Any questions? Ali from Pakistan.
Yep. I have one question, as you mentioned in one of the slides, that in the half of the sessions, we're going to prepare for the storytelling, and like prepare for explaining the issues in the live session later on. So all this preparation will be peer-to-peer. We're going to seek present to the interns, or the community itself will be helping each other in a peer-to-peer way, that anybody would be presenting their issues or proposed solutions, and then anybody else will be able to evaluate that, comment on that, and by the time it is refined enough to be presentable live. Is this like this?
Yes. So you've more or less got it. So part 2 is on storytelling. Part 1, as I mentioned, is citizen diplomacy in families globally. So part 2 starts August 27th, and we're going to start by having you guys just tell a story. It can be about family. It can be not about family. I would recommend you tell a story about family and some sort of issue. And so each of you, we may, depending on how large the group grows, today is just an introductory session. There may be other people who join. If the group stays about this small, about 20 to 25 people, then we'll just stick with one group. And all of you will be in one group. And so you're going to first tell a story. We're going to record this. And then for many sessions, you're going to get training. In 1 or 2 sessions, you'll get training in storytelling. And then after that, it's practice, practice, practice. And it'll be just like this in these meetings in a group. So not one-on-one kind of thing, but in a group, you will have the opportunity to practice your story. And between our meetings, we'll match you up with interns and or other volunteers who can help you to craft your story, and to develop it so that it's effective, right? So you'll have essentially kind of advisors along the way who are helping you with developing your story. And then at the end, we will have a public session. So it'll be, lots of you guys performing your stories, plus some observers. I don't know how many people we'll have, and you will tell your final performance story. So we're going to be comparing your story that you tell on August 27th and possibly the next week. And then we may have to do these independently, and the interns will help with this. So your stories immediately, and And then we're going to be comparing with your stories after the training, after the storytelling practice and training. And that will determine, right? So the pre-survey and the post-survey is for the knowledge parts for part 1. Then the pre-story and the post-story is for part 2. And we're going to be comparing the data on those two things. How much did you improve to determine, do you get a certificate and a certificate with honors and or cash awards for your performance? If the group stays this small, you guys have actually a pretty good chance of, at least 5 of you have a pretty good chance of getting a cash award. And they're not small cash awards. As I mentioned, $250 or $500, depending on whether you're having a family involved. But it depends on who shows up to the actual training come next Sunday. So thereafter, basically, all of this is recorded. I just want to emphasize, all of this is recorded. And after each meeting, we post the recording to our YouTube channel. So you'll have access to all of our meetings. There are people in East Asia who are going to be participating in a separate sessions, and they're going to be watching our meetings to be able to see what's going on. And then in their separate sessions on Sundays, they'll be having a discussion independently about that. And so, what else? So it's going to be recorded, and ultimately your stories are going to appear online on YouTube for people to see. So this is very public. I just want to emphasize to all of you, we take photos, we take video recordings, and we post this on social media, on our website. And so you guys are part of a very public enterprise. So I hope that answered, it's a long-winded answer, but I hope that answered your question, Ali.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, we are going to the last part of this meeting, which, as I mentioned, is very important. So I'm going to share my screen again and just show you guys that part. Okay, so this is the pre-survey that we have to do with all of you. I'm going to be putting this link into the Zoom chat, but it's important that you complete this survey with us now, if you're able to. And if you're not, for some reason, able to, for technological reasons, then we may be able to work through that in the process. But we're actually going to go through this survey on screen. So I'm going to show the survey, and we're going to do it in 2 parts. You'll answer first the demographic questions. These are very simple questions like, what's your name, what's your educational level, et cetera, and so forth. And then you're going to answer part 2, which is a 10-minute open-ended essay question. And you're going to take 10 minutes to actually type your answers and think about the question. It's important that you write as much as you can and think about the question. Does anybody have any questions? So Leroy has a question about this. Leroy, go ahead. Leroy from Liberia.
Yeah, so basically at first, even though I didn't introduce myself because I came late, I just want to ask if the all members will be filling in the form or the survey again.
The ones like you who participated last year?
Yeah. Are we still going to fill in this survey?
Yes. And the reason why you're doing that, Leroy, is because your knowledge now is not the same as your knowledge previously. And we have to, you may have learned some new things, et cetera, and so forth. So we have to track where you are now and then compare that with where you are, we hope, at the end of the part one of the training. Okay. So everybody who's previously participated in the Family Diplomacy Initiative training last year should do the survey this year as well, the pre-survey and the post-survey. Any other questions? Chia. And Chia, remind us what country you're, and if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and what country you're coming from.
Yeah, my name is Chia Terence, you pronounced correctly. I'm coming from Cameroon. I'm presently in the United Arab Emirates. So my questions goes by you like completing the demographic questions. Is it something like, oh, I know the questions are there already, but it's something like you should know what you are putting there, and you should know it even when you didn't try to read the question again.
So I think it will probably be clear if I start sharing the question. So I'm going to, in a moment, put the survey in the, I'm going to do this right now, put the survey into the Zoom chat. Let me see here. I thought I had it right available, but I guess I don't. Hold on a second. Let me just get to the right place and get the survey. FD training pre-survey, copy, and chat. Okay, so everyone with a meeting. And okay, so I just posted the survey to the Zoom chat. I'm going to open it now, and you should all have access to it, but I'm going to put it on our screen so that everybody can see my screen. And you want to go ahead and read, I would say, this, it's kind of review of what we've said, but go ahead and read this first part, and then we're going to do the demographic part. And if you have any questions along the way, you can ask me. So is anybody having problems accessing the survey? When you click on it from the Zoom chat, are you able to access the survey and fill it out yourself? And just keep in mind, every one of you should be filling this out. Joe, you got a question?
Yeah, so Paul, I just wanted you to look at a couple of messages that I sent you.
Gotcha.
When you get it.
Sorry, and I guess I'm these are private messages. I think unfortunately everybody would be able to see those, so I don't know if you want to communicate stuff just publicly, Joe.
These are for you.
Okay, all right. Is this urgent? Like you need me to read them now?
Well, the second one I think might be important. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just stop sharing for a moment and then just read your questions. No, so as I mentioned, Joe, you do not need to do the survey. Yeah, so that should be, we should be fine. I think everybody should be fine on your second question. So I think everybody should be able to read this, but so I'm just going to review this information. But as I mentioned, there are two parts to the training. Part one, July 9th to August 20th, is focused on family globally and citizen diplomacy. Part two is on storytelling. We are doing this pre-survey, and we'll have you take the same survey after August 20th, or on or after August 20th. You'll answer 11 simple demographic questions like your name, your country, your city, your age, your gender, etc. Then you'll have 10 minutes to answer this one simple open-ended question, and that is, what do you know about citizen diplomacy and the patterns, trends, and issues facing families across the world? That's it. This is the one question. You're going to be writing for 10 minutes on that. and that will be the end of the survey. We do not expect you to know much now at the start of this, but you want to take the full 10 minutes to think and write about that question. So don't just write one sentence, write whatever you can that you can think of. The other thing is we're not interested in your opinions. We're interested in what you know, your knowledge, the facts that you know. So, and how you organize them and how sophisticated you are in your understanding of the facts. So what that means, if you're not clear on what the difference is between an opinion and a fact, an opinion might be, I believe that, people across the world should live together and in one big happy family. That's an opinion. We're not interested in that stuff. We just want to hear what you know about about family diplomacy, about citizen diplomacy, and the patterns, trends, and issues facing families across the world. So whatever facts that you can gather on that, you want to write that in. If any member of your family is planning to participate, they should also fill that out separately. So Chirunim, your brother should participate and fill this out separately. Every family member that's planning to participate should fill it out. I already see that somebody's already filled out the survey. You should not fill it out yet. I just want to emphasize we're going to do this together because we want to make sure that you're doing it correctly. So do not fill out the survey right now. Your participation is voluntary. I have to do this in part because scientific ethics require us to lay this out. So your participation in this is voluntary. You're not paid to participate, and you can stop participating at any time. Learning Life will not identify your survey answers with your name in any public report. We will only be giving aggregated statistics and reports. So we're not going to be revealing how somebody scored on this or how you did individually. However, we will take photos and video. I just want to remind you of this, of the training sessions, and save the Zoom chat comments, and we'll publicize some of these via Learning Life's website and social media. We do not anticipate any risks to you unless you believe that your nation's government or any group in your country may prosecute or harm you or your family for interacting with a US-based organization or families in other countries. If you do believe there's a risk to you or your family by participating, the risk is on you. We just have to make clear that you have to assess your own risk level if you participate in this and act accordingly. So we do not encourage people who would face risks to participate in our training. The benefits are here. You're making new friends across the world. You're going to develop a deeper understanding of the trends, patterns, and issues facing families, a deeper understanding of citizen diplomacy. You're going to develop your storytelling ability, and you're going to gain resume building experience for those who want it. And oops, there's a 6 here. And there is certificates of completion with honors and cash awards, which is not listed here, and I'm going to have to update this. For those who cash awards for the most improved 5, right? Whether you're an individual or family. And all the details here are at learninginlife.info, that FDI training. And that's it, pretty much. And so by doing this survey, you agree essentially to, and that you've read that and are okay with all that. All right, everybody ready for part 1 of the survey? And that's just demographic questions. And does everybody have the survey open so that you can fill this out on your own, because you're going to be doing this? And if not, if you're not able to open the survey, please tell us so that Dia, whom you met earlier, one of our interns, you can message her privately. Dia, do you want to just write a message quickly, publicly to everybody saying, hi, message me in the Zoom chat so that everybody knows if they, for some reason, cannot open this survey and fill it out on your own, you can send your answers to these questions to Dia, and Dia will then put it in the survey. Everybody clear on that stuff?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I just want to make sure that everybody's paying attention and we're all good. Okay, so you start just by entering your name. Go ahead and do that, and go ahead and put in your country, your city. This is going to go quite quickly. How old you are. Your gender, male or female, your marital status, if any members of your family agreed to participate this year, how many of them? How many of your family members are planning to participate with you? What education level you completed? We are also interested in your mom and your dad's education level. So what your mother's education level is, and then your father's education level. And I believe this is the last demographic question, but is please select the occupational category below that best describes your work that you currently do. So go ahead and fill that out. There are a lot of categories. Just pick the best category that best fits what you do. And if everybody has filled that out, you should raise your do a thumbs up if you have filled out that part of the survey. I just want to bring us back to the main screen. I'd like to make sure, use the thumbs up if you fill that part of the survey. Okay, Begum has done it. Fiode has done it. Nayeb has done it. Very good. Leroy has done it. Mulba, Itai, I'm wondering what you guys, and Justice. Chirunim.
Should we submit?
No, don't submit yet. You have to do the last part, so you should not submit. Just hold on. Hajer, have you completed it? Hajer Jalab? I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Hajer, I think you're from Tunisia. Hajer, we can't hear you, but Nusrat as well, if you could. Yes, Hajer, go ahead.
Hajar Chilab, yeah.
Yes, have you completed the demographic questions?
Yes, I am filling the survey.
Okay, you've filling it out, but don't complete the last question yet, because I want to get to that.
Okay.
And Nusrat, have you filled out the demographic parts?
Not yet.
Oh no, I was asking Nusrat. So Hajer, you should be filling out the demographic questions. So that's questions 1 through 11. Right?
Okay. All right.
And doing
that. Issues and I'm using the smartphone, so I said, like, can I do it later?
Yes, but I think we're going to have you're more experienced in this, but I just want to make clear, if you're going to do it on your own, you have to spend 10 minutes. You have to time yourself 10 minutes for the last question.
Yeah, but I said, like, I'm facing some issues because I'm using a smartphone right now, so I can't see the question exactly. And if I just back to the question, then it's like, disconnected. So that's why maybe I can do it later.
Yes, so no problem. You can do it later. You have to do it before next Sunday. In fact, I would just recommend you do it today if you can, after our meeting. And I'm going to just mute you because every time I speak, there's lots of interference. But you'll need to fill out the survey, and then just make sure my emphasis is on the last question. You need to spend 10 minutes writing things down. You cannot, on the last question, this is very important, refer to anything. You cannot refer to books, articles, etc., or else while you're answering that question. Do not do that. Just go from what's in your head. Don't read stuff and cut and paste or anything like that. It's essentially cheating, and you don't want to do that. Is everybody essentially set on the demographic questions?
I think my page just flip out, so I cannot see where I was signing in.
Okay. You know that you've got the survey in the Zoom chat, Itai. So you can go back to it if need be and just refill it out if necessary. Juliana from Brazil, are you set with the demographic questions before we go on to the final question, the essay question? Great, awesome. So we do have some new people that are joining us that joined late. You guys will have to fill out this survey, I guess another time. Chia, you have a question? We can't hear you, Chia. Still can't hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, because I can't open the question in the survey link. I'm unable to open. I think there's something wrong. I don't know what.
Okay, so we'll get back to you on this. We'll basically be figuring out who's here. We'll know this from Summer's attendance check. Who's in attendance and who has actually filled out the survey, and then we'll get back to those of you who have not filled it out as yet to make sure that you fill it out properly. Okay, so I'm going to go to the last part of the survey. How many of you are able to, I just want to raise your hand and keep it raised, your not the electronic hand, just your human hand. How many of you are actually filling out the survey now? And so keep your hand raised just like I am. If you're filling it out right now and you have not done the essay yet, the 10-minute essay, good, excellent. It looks like a few of you have your hand raised. Good. Okay. Mohammed, good to see you from Cyprus. Okay, we are going to now switch to and I'm glad a lot of you are actually filling it out now, but so hold on, because I am going to in fact time you for that last question, but I need to just emphasize two things before we do that. So let me just share my screen and scroll to this last and most important question. So here, what I want to emphasize is I'm going to be timing you for 10 minutes. So we're going to go quiet for 10 minutes. And you're going to write for 10 minutes. I know this seems kind of weird that we're doing this at and we're sitting in quietly for 10 minutes. But for those of you who are not able to do this, or who are interns, etc., you can do something else while we're doing this. You're going to be taking those 10 minutes and thinking and writing your answer to this question here in this question, which is, what do you know about citizen diplomacy? And what do you know about the patterns, trends, and issues facing families across the world? And we want to know what you know about the facts, not your opinions. Okay, so focus on the facts and then just lay out what you're able to do in 10 minutes. And do not refer to any books, articles, the internet, or any other material. You're just proceeding with what's in your head. Any questions on this before I start the timer? No question.
Yeah, my page is just flipping up, so
Okay, so
I don't know what is happening.
Don't worry about it, Itai. I'm going to put the question in the Zoom chat so that you guys have it available there. But you can ask. We'll get back to you, Itai, and just make sure that you're filling out the survey before next Sunday. Chia, do you have any other questions before I lower your hand?
No, I don't have, just the filling of the survey. That was it hard for me. Not like hard, but not opening the links.
Yeah, so you're going to do it after this meeting.
All right, no
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
And again, just make sure to spend 10 minutes at it, a full 10 minutes, time yourself. You need to time yourself for that 10 minutes. And don't spend more than 10 minutes. Don't spend less than 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Because we need to be able to compare apples and apples, which means you're 10 minutes now and 10 minutes after the training when you write. Okay. Sammy from Pakistan, you have a question? Sammy from Pakistan, do you have a question? Okay, I don't think Sammy's paying attention right now, so I'm going to lower his hand. All right, so everybody ready for the essay question? I'm going to start the timer. All right, you've got 10 minutes, and we'll quietly have you type away your answers. When you are done with the 10 minutes, then you can send the survey, complete it. Okay, once you've completed it all. All right, ready, set, go. I'll let you know when you have 5 minutes left and then around 2 minutes. So you're currently at 2 minutes out of 10. 5 minutes have passed. You have about 4.5 minutes. You guys have about 1 minute left. Okay, please stop typing and submit your survey. Has everybody done so? If you could, raise your hand if you've submitted your survey just like that with your human hand. Fantastic. I'm just looking through here. Great, excellent, Mulba. You've so good. I'm just taking a look, and it looks like we've got a total of 13 survey answers thus far. So we will be getting back to, there are a number of you that are kind of green lit for participation in the in this program, in this training. There are somewhere above 50 people. Not everybody, as I expected, is actually going to go through the training. But there are probably other people, I'm guessing, who are going to be joining us between now and next Sunday. Although we're probably not going to reach the goal of 50, we're nonetheless going to be a bigger group than we were last year, I believe. Are there any questions before we close off for today? Mulba, do you have a question? Mulba, for joining us from Liberia. Mulba may not be able to hear us because I think he's got connection issues. Abdul may likewise have connection issues, but Abdul, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Abdul.
We those who are not able to take part in the survey, are we going to be given an opportunity to fill it or to answer the survey?
Yeah, so you have to scroll through. I just scroll through the messages. You're going to see a survey link. Yes, you should fill out the survey after our meeting if you can. I just want to emphasize to you and to everybody, if you do that, you need to take 10 minutes exactly, not more, not less, 10 minutes thinking and writing on that last question in the survey, and giving as much your facts, not opinions. Does that make sense, Abdul?
Yes, I think the link has to be sent again.
Okay, I will send it again, but it's, if you just scroll up in the Zoom chat, you'll see it, but I just sent it again. Okay, so just click on that and make sure that you fill it out. Mulba, can you hear us? Okay, Mulba cannot hear us. Nayeb, who I believe is joining us from Pakistan. Go ahead. Ooh, we cannot hear you very well. If you have some sort of a headphone device, you could take it off so we can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
Okay, hello to you all. This is Naya from Pakistan. Sir, my question is to you. How citizen diplomacy is related to FDI program? Because we are FDI training, so we are learning about citizen diplomacy as you have asked in your survey. So how citizen diplomacy affecting FDI or contributing in FDI? Can you please explain?
Okay, sure. And I'm going to do this just briefly because we're at 1:30 p.m. or close of our meeting. And we'll have plenty of opportunities for you guys to ask questions in subsequent meetings. But for now, citizen diplomacy is a type of diplomacy between citizens, and family diplomacy, which is what we do, is a type of citizen diplomacy. So I hope that helps you. So family diplomacy is just a type of diplomacy, and you're going to be developing your skills in citizen diplomacy and family diplomacy. Any other questions before we finish? All right. So this first meeting, I just Leroy and before we Leroy and Hypack, I'm sure that's not your name, but you'll have to tell us what your name is. Leroy first from Liberia.
Yeah, during the process, I actually wanted to stop the process to ask this question. there was this part of the survey that I saw college course or college, somehow 1 or 2 years in college or a university degree. And I was wondering if a person spent at least a year in the university or in a college, can that person take that part of the survey?
Yes, I mean, that's just asking where you are in your education, right? That was a demographic question about where you are in your education. So you would just put, if you're in college, you would put the number of years you've completed thus far.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure. And HiPAC, what's your actual name? And you're going to have to unmute. We still can't hear you. Yeah, still can't hear you. So HiPAC, I think you'll probably have to ask your question in the Zoom chat, or type it in the Zoom chat. And so we'll finish, just to orient everybody, we'll finish off after, we'll end this meeting after HiPAC's question. And I want to thank everybody for your patience. The first meeting, because it's always about kind of like making sure that people are filling out the pre-survey, is not the most interesting meeting. Subsequent meetings should hopefully be more interesting and interactive. Okay. HiPAC, are you writing your question? I'm assuming it looks like you're typing it. If you can type it quickly. Okay. Are you able, have you sent your question? No. Okay. I think, HiPAC, if you can just, first of all, change your name on your Zoom so we know your actual name. And then just send that message to if you're in our Facebook group, you can Facebook chat group, you can ask the question there, because you're having obviously technical difficulties with your volume and your ability to send things. And I don't want to waste anybody else's time any further. So, but by all means, send us your message in the Facebook group. If you're not part, is everybody part of the Facebook chat here? If you're not part of the Facebook chat, you should be, because that allows you to ask questions between the meetings, and make sure that you know what's going on. So I think everybody should be set. Everybody's in the Facebook chat group. And so that's it. Leroy, let's reserve this for the Facebook chat, because we're already past time and I want to respect everybody's time. So, thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to working with you, to learning about you guys. I think we all are. This is another exciting year of the training, the second year of our training. So really, really looking forward to working with you. So see you next Sunday, same time, same Zoom. Bye, everybody.
Bye.